Howdy folks, Rudrose here, and today I wanted to go over some tournament tips for the upcoming DLC challenge in Milwaukee. For some of us, this may be your very first DLC ever. Maybe you're a veteran, maybe you've gone to all of them last year, maybe you've only gone to a couple. So I myself have only gone to Dallas, but I've been playing card games since, I can't even remember, since I was a wee one. I've played Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic, Final Fantasy. And I've gone to these big tournaments before, and they can be a lot, and there's a lot that goes on with them, and so I wanted to come on here and give you some tips to help you best prepare for the tournament. So, let's get to it. First of all, first tip is, why are you playing? And this is important. Usually this will fall into two categories. You're playing to win, or you're playing just to have fun. Now, if you're just playing to have fun, you get the easy job. You get to just enjoy the day and do whatever you want. Bring whatever deck you find enjoyable. Sign up for any side events you find enjoyable, and just have a good time. This really relates to deck choice, and if you're just playing to have fun, a lot of these other tips aren't going to apply to you, and to be honest, I kind of envy you. I wish I could go to one of these tournaments and just play to have fun, but I'm a very competitive player, so I'm going to go playing to win. Now, if you are playing to win, you should bring a deck that is tried and true, is tested. Unless you have the secret meta tech to go in and just break the meta that no one else thought of, which is very difficult to do. Bring a deck that you know has success. You know, the big four right now are Blurple, Baja, Aggro, Amber Steel, and then, what's the other one? Purple Steel. You know, don't bring Red Green thinking, I really want to make top cut. I want to win this tournament, so I'm going to bring this deck that has no results and hasn't shown up in any of these tournaments. Maybe you'll get very lucky and happen to break the mold, but chances are you're going to do very poorly. So if you want to win, bring a deck that you know is going to perform well. Number 2, prepare yourself physically, and I cannot stress this enough. These are very long days, and if there are issues, then they're going to be even longer. So most of these days run long, even if everything runs smoothly. But if we have issues with the play hub, which given all the evidence we've seen is very likely, that's going to be even longer. So you need to be physically prepared. Bring a bottle of water. In Dallas last year, they had a water station. You could keep refilling it. Bring some snacks for yourself. Make sure during the lunch break you actually get yourself some food. You know, shower, hygiene the night before. Make sure you get a good night's sleep. There are some players I know who will stay up testing till the wee hours of the morning the night before, and then they've got this 10-plus hour day ahead of them, and they're just exhausted all day. If you can run off of that, if you know your body works that way, awesome. But for me, I would be miserable. I always give myself a hard cutoff of like, okay, it's midnight. Okay, it's 11:30. It doesn't, even if I'm losing constantly, I need to stop right there and go to bed and make sure I get as full a night's sleep as I can. So it's a very long day. Just make sure you're prepared. You know, anything you need for yourself personally, bring it in your bag, bring it in your purse, bring it in your whatever, and just make sure you're ready because it is a very long day. Number 3, along with physical preparation comes mental preparation. For me personally, I find it helpful if the more things I get done ahead of time, the better. So if I can get up there on Friday and pre-register for the event so I don't have to worry about that Saturday morning, I'm going to do that. If there's a deck list that needs to be submitted, whether it be paper or electronic, do that the night before if you're able to. Essentially, the more I can get done the night before, the better. The day of the tournament, I just want to show up and jump into the games. I don't want to get there. Maybe my ride is late or there's traffic and then I'm scrambling and I get there late and now I'm sitting there trying to fill out a deck list. Like, no, prepare yourself for all that ahead of time. I find that goes a long way to being ready and attentive and focused the day of. And again, maybe this kind of goes in with the sleep, but whatever you need to do to mentally get yourself focused. If you need to go in a room by yourself and, you know, relax for 10 minutes or talk to your closest friends or, you know, walk around the room, whatever it is, like, give yourself focus because, again, it's going to be a long day and a day when your mind is going to need to be engaged game after game after game after game. So absolutely prepare yourself mentally, and the more you can do ahead of time, I find to be very helpful. Number 4, when you're actually playing the game, please respect other people's stuff, particularly other people's cards. Some people have decks full of enchanteds or high foil cards, and it really bugs me when I see players just snatch up cards off someone's board. What does that do? Snatch, hold it right up to the face, and then like throw it back. That's so disrespectful. You know, yes, you have, you know, your opponent has to show you what's in their discard pile or how much ink they have, but just ask politely. If they play a card that you're not familiar with, you know, hey, can I please read that? And they don't have to physically hand it to you. If they just want to turn it towards you and push it closer, so, you know, don't then pick it up and so just look over, read it. Okay, thank you, and pass it back. Just be polite and considerate. Like, I hate it when people just snatch cards up. And same with their discard. Yes, you are legally allowed to check what's in their discard, but ask. Don't just snatch it up off their deck. Hey, may I please see your discard? Same with when you're shuffling their deck. If you're shuffling their deck or cutting their deck, do it carefully and gently. Don't just sit there and smash the cards together or just slap them down on the table. I see people just be so harsh with a lot of the equipment in the game, and I don't appreciate that. Same with die. If they're rolling die and you use their die to roll, then yeah, don't slam them around, don't throw them all over the place, just be respectful. It's very appropriate that I just mentioned dice rolling, because step number 5 is protect against cheaters. If you think that no one in Lorcana cheats, you are fooling yourself, and there are people who will take advantage of anyone, let alone players who maybe aren't as practiced or aren't as familiar. What are ways you can do this? Number 1, always, always, always shuffle or cut your opponent's deck. When you shuffle up your decks, you better cut your opponent's deck. This is a big tournament that people are trying to win. Do not just go, you're fine. I mean, maybe if it's your best friend that you got paired against, okay, whatever. But I would, out of habit, still do it anyway. Personally, I'm going to pick up your deck and I'm going to shuffle it myself. And then, maybe I'll do a little cut afterwards. At minimum, cut it. I personally would encourage shuffling, but at minimum, at least just cut their deck. There are people out there who will stack their decks against you. So, and if they're good enough, maybe they can find a way around that. But at bare minimum, protect yourself. Give yourself that chance to make it as fair as possible. Same with when rolling dice. When you go for the opening dice roll to determine who's going first, make sure it is very clear what the stakes are. Hey, are we rolling high roll? Are we calling odds or evens? And if you do something like odds or evens, make sure you call it before they roll it. I will see people be sleazy and they'll throw it and then odds, and like as they're trying to watch where the die roll. No. Before those dice even come out of the hand, make sure you have it established. We are rolling for high roll. Here's another thing too. Whichever pair of dice is rolled, or single dice, or whatever you use, 4 dice, 50 dice, whatever you want to do, make sure you use the same ones. If my opponent pulls out 2 dice and rolls them, I am picking up those same 2 dice and rolling them. I do not trust that some folks out there won't bring some weighted die that could work in their favor. I will never watch them roll their own and then pull out my own and roll that, because I think that's suspicious as well. So whoever's rolling the dice, make sure you are both rolling the same set. Do not roll individually. And beyond that, just be focused and attentive. Especially in the early turns of the game, make sure you are counting how many cards they have. One of my best buddies, Justin, who's been on these videos before, had an incident where someone drew extra cards against him, and it was only because he was counting the cards in their hand. They was like, wait a minute, you have too many cards. It's turn 2, you should have 9, and you have 10, or whatever the math was. So people will do that. Just be vigilant, be aware. Also going in with that point is your card sleeves. You should have relatively fresh sleeves when you are starting a tournament. Now, opinions on this are kind of all over the place. Some people insist that they must be brand new out of the box that day. Personally, I think that's too much. As long as they're in good condition and they aren't marked and they aren't scuffed up and they aren't beaten all to heck, like, I think you can do whatever you want as long as they're in relatively good condition. For me, I'll usually buy a new set of sleeves, and I like to break them in a bit, because if you do them just out of the box, they're very slippery. So I'll put them on, that Monday or Thursday night or something as I practice some games. But unless you're trying to pull a David Nunez, make sure your sleeves are in good condition and they aren't marked. You don't want someone in the middle of a tournament to call a judge on you because, hey, all his corners are bent and they're all for key cards that he needs. Even if it was by accident, you don't want that to happen. And then what if, even if you don't get like a penalty, like they don't disqualify you or give you a game loss or anything, if they make you re-sleeve all your cards, that's going to take a huge amount of time to have to stop, pull a bunch of cards out, re-sleeve them. So just make sure your sleeves are relatively fresh and good condition. Do that. Number 7, your lore counters. Know what lore counters you're using and practice with them. There are the official lore counters we get from Disney. I personally like those. I think those are fun to use. Some people insist that pen and paper is the absolute only way to do it, and it's what you have to do. You can use the app as well. Whatever you do, just don't decide the day of. Make sure it's something you practice with, because if you're used to holding your cards, having to put those down, stop, pick up your pen and paper and write is, I don't know if skill is the right word, but it's something you should be aware of and you should be used to. You don't want to have to fiddle with that the day of. Some people swear by pen and paper, having been forced to use it at Dallas last year, and I believe they've changed the rules now, so you can use the app and the lore counters, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. Read the rules to be sure. Some people swear by the pen and paper, but I have had just as many discrepancies with pen and paper as with the lore counters, where unless you are writing, oh, you quested to 3 with your rabbit and with this card and with this card, if you're just going 1, cross that out, 5, cross that out, 7, it's so easy to go back, well, I had you to 5, and the person, well, I had myself to 7, so you missed something. Well, no, you missed something. And unless you wrote down the details, the paper isn't actually going to tell you that. So just with that, with whatever counters you're using, when you are recording lore for yourself or for your opponent, and you should be keeping track of both. If you're using the actual counters, which I use 2, one for myself, one for my opponent. And you should say out loud when your opponent questing for 4, I'm going to 5. And it's a good habit to just say, okay, you're at 5 lore, I'm at 0. I'm at 5 lore, you're at 3. You're at 6, I'm at 6. Say it out loud, so if there's a discrepancy, you can catch it right then. So they quest out and you go, okay, you're at 6. And they go, no, I'm at 7. Oh, wait, what? How are you at 7? And then count it up. Because as the game gets later and later, it's going to be harder and harder to backtrack in your mind where the discrepancy happens. So whatever you use, be comfortable with them, and you should get into the habit of announcing out loud when either of you has a lore change. I am now at this lore. Quest for 4, my total is now 12. You are at, it's 12 to 10. It's 12 to 15, whatever. Just get into that habit. And kind of tying into all of that, point number 8 is clear communication. Now, this isn't as necessary in Lorcana as it is in a game like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic or Final Fantasy, where there are phases to a turn, right? There's a main phase 1, there's a combat phase, there's a main phase 2, and there's all these steps that occur in between where your opponent gets a chance to react. Well, in Lorcana, there's nothing like that because the game is very simple and streamlined. However, you still should communicate clearly what you do. In Lorcana, if I take a character that's ready, up and down, vertical, and turn it sideways, horizontal, what am I doing? I could be challenging you, I could be questing, I could be singing, I could be using an exert ability, and it really bugs me when I'll see people grab a card and go, huh, and fling it. Yeah, like here, I've got a card right here, and they'll have it, and those, huh. It's like, okay, what is that? Are you challenging? Are you like, I don't know what you're doing. So just be clear. Hey, Cinderella challenges Mickey Mouse. Whatever. Hey, Cinderella, I'm going to sing Friends on the Other Side. Hopefully not at this tournament because that card's not in rotation, but you get my point. Cinderella is going to quest for 2 lore, give her support to such and such. Just be clear. As your opponent, you don't have to acknowledge that. I actually find that personally kind of annoying if someone goes, okay, for everything I'm doing, because you can't respond to it anyway. But if that helps you, then do that. If that keeps you in the game, do it. Do what works for you. Just be clear with your communication for your opponent. Make it very obvious. Hey, I have passed the turn to you. Okay, and then my opponent draws. Don't just be quiet. Don't just kind of point at stuff. Be very clear with, I am doing this, so they know, so there's no discrepancy, because you could get a judge called on you that, hey, I don't even know what they were doing, like, and they weren't clear to what I was doing. And then part of that, too, is as the opponent, though, when someone, hey, I'm challenging your character A with my character B, and if that results in a banish, then banish your card. I've had so many games where, especially with newer players, I will do that. Okay, I'm going to challenge this character and banish it. And they'll just sit there looking at me like, huh? Please remove the card from the board. Huh? I'm challenged. Please get the card off the board. Just be very clear with your communication, and it just makes it simpler for everyone. Number 9, and this is one of the most important ones, watch the clock. If you do not practice with a clock and you feel you are a slower player, you need to practice before this tournament, because there's nothing worse than going to time when you don't need to. Watch the clock for yourself, watch the clock for your opponent. Especially those starting turns when there's only 1 or 2 things you can do because your ink is so low. You need to be thinking about that during your opponent's turn. When it gets to your turn, don't then decide, oh, so what am I going to do this turn? You should be thinking about that ahead of time. You need to play at a consistent pace. If it's one of those big turns where I'm going to lose the game unless I figure out a way to get out of this, I understand taking a long time on those turns. That makes sense. It's a big, complicated turn. But those early turns, you need to be moving. You need to be clipping. You have to potentially get through 3 games, and it'll probably be about 50 minutes, maybe 55. And if it's a control type deck, if you're playing Baja Blast or it's a Blurplemere, like that's going to take a while. You know, if you're playing aggro, you're probably safe, but nonetheless. And I saw people on that Bologna stream who were playing so slowly, and they have 2 cards in hand. They're just sitting there, no. If you do that to me, I will call a judge on you. And I encourage you as well. If your opponent is slow playing you, call a judge on them. Call a judge and say, hey, I don't want to go to time. This person is playing slowly. And the judge should sit there and watch them. If they continue to do it, the judge can penalize them for slow play. Now, before the judge, I'll usually just try to ask you. If you're slow play, I will say, hey, please play. Can you please play faster? I don't want to go to time. Or you can even say, I don't want this match to go to time. But be aware of that. And if you are a player that you know you tend to play kind of slowly, you should time yourself. Get a little chess clock. Just do an online app timer on your phone or whatever and see how long it takes. If it is taking you 20 minutes to get through a match and you're playing aggro, something is wrong. Time your turns. If it takes you a minute plus to get through those early turns, something is wrong. You need to play faster than that. So I highly, highly encourage you to watch the clock for yourself or for your opponent. Usually when I pass the turn, I'll give a quick glance at the clock to, okay, how much time is left? Do we need to play faster? Do I need to encourage them to speed up? So going to time sucks. Don't do that. Please watch that clock. And one final note on that, if you are pile shuffling, do that at the end of a round. If you finish round 3 and there's 10 minutes left on the clock, pile shuffle right then and there. Shuffle up your deck at the end of that round so that when you get to the start of the next round, maybe you just do 1 or 2 hand shuffles and you know your deck has been thoroughly shuffled at that point. Don't wait till the start of the next match when the clock's already going and do it then. Now, obviously, if you go to time on the previous match, you're not going to be able to help that, but just the more time you can give yourself, the better. Number 10, make sure you practice. If you are deciding at the last minute what deck to take, there's a chance that could backfire on you just because you're not practiced with it. You don't know all the lines. You don't have the rhythm of the deck. And decks do have a rhythm and a feel to them. That's why I miss Ruby Amethyst so much, because I just had the rhythm of that deck. I have no other way to describe it other than I had the rhythm of the deck. There was a tournament I went to, not in Lorcana, but Final Fantasy a couple years ago, and I decided the night before, someone was trying to sell me on this deck. I'm telling you, man, you got to play this deck. You got to play this deck. It's so good. It's so good. And I switched. I switched the night before. Well, guess what happened the day of? I wasn't practiced with it. I didn't know the lines. I didn't have the rhythm. Like, I knew the lines in my mind, but that's not the same as playing them out on the field. And I made a lot of errors, like legitimate errors of just like, oh, wait, I put the wrong card out. This card has to come out first in order to make this one even work. And it completely backfired on me, and I had a terrible day. So practice. Make sure you are getting in your reps if you're trying to do well and you want to win. Know the lines. Know if your deck has special rules. Know how resist works with moving damage counters versus dealing damage. There is, some rule differences there. So know that. If you have a certain card that I can't even think of one, because again, Lorcana isn't really that complicated, but if you have some card that has some known controversial ruling about it, or it's something people get wrong all the time, know that. Know how that effect works. Know the rules themselves. You should read the advanced rules. Know how the bag works. Obviously, judges are there to call if you need them, but the more you know yourself, the better. And I've had that happen in Final Fantasy tournaments in the past where I have won games because I knew the rules better than my opponent. They tried to do things that they thought worked. I said, okay, I'll do this. And they're like, well, no, that doesn't work. I was like, yes, it does. Check the rules. And a judge came over, verified, yeah, Rudrose is right. The rules are there. So practice, be comfortable, be good. Number 11, and this is probably my biggest tip ever for actually playing the game well. Be adaptable. Now, this does apply more to complex games like Magic and Final Fantasy, but it still applies in Lorcana. Be adaptable. Do not get tunnel vision and think, well, every game I've ever played, I always put this card out on 1, and I always put this card out on 2, and so I'll just always do that no matter what. What deck is your opponent playing? Maybe you need a different strategy. If you're purple steel against Blurple, maybe instead of just going 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, maybe it's better to go wide with 3 1-drops on turn 1, because hey, if this game goes on long enough, they're probably going to win, so I need to go faster. Oh, I'm going against aggro. Maybe instead of mulliganing away this Fire the Cannons or this Calhoun because they're an inkable, I'm going to keep it because I know it's going to do well against aggro. Once you figure out what your opponent's playing, be adaptable. Figure out, okay, can I win if that card stays on the board? Yes, I can. Okay, I'm just going to quest. I'm going to make them chase me. Or I can't. I need to switch questing and I need to turn and challenge them. A deck like Aggro, one of the nice things about that one is that it pretty much has a similar game plan, but even in that deck, there are times it is correct to not quest, to just sit there and wait and build up a board and wait for that Strength of a Raging Fire. So just be adaptable. You have to react to every situation and every new game and every round. What may have been the appropriate turn in game 1 maybe is the wrong play in game 2. So you will find so much more success as a card player if you can find yourself to adapt to the different situations and to the different decks, instead of just, well, this is what I've always done, so I'm just going to always do X, Y, Z in that order till the cows come home. So be adaptable. And last but certainly not least, make sure you validate your match results. There's kind of an unspoken rule in TCGs that the winner reports the result of the match, because the loser doesn't really care, because if you reported it incorrectly that they won, that just benefits them. But so if you 2-0 your opponent, and you report it on the Play Hub, it is good etiquette to, you put it in, okay, Rudrose wins games 1 and 2, show them your opponent, hey, just validating, is this correct? Make sure it is correct and submit. If it goes back and forth, that they win game 1, then you 2, and then they won, or that maybe you won 3, just make sure, okay, you won game 1, right? And then I got the next 2. Is that correct? And they say yes. Now, if your opponent leaves the table before you get to do that, okay, you as the winner, just put it in what you know is correct. But I always like to show with them, and I appreciate it when my opponent shows to me, hey, here are the match results, right? I got you 2-0, and I say, yep, that's good. Go ahead and submit it. So just make sure they are correct, because the last thing you want, and I have seen this happen at tournaments, I haven't been a part of one as big of a DLC where it's happened, but I've had plenty of other tournaments where someone input their match results incorrectly, or someone else, they left it to someone else and they did it incorrectly. And then later they're like, wait a minute, I'm 5-2. How did I not make top cut? And they're like, no, we have you as 4-3. Oh, so-and-so, this match didn't get input correctly, which also then messes up your tournament seeding, because you're playing people based on your match results. So just make sure it's correct. The last thing you want to have to deal with is some kind of kerfluffle or snafu where something goes wrong. So make sure your match results are correct. And with that, those are my tournament tips for you at DLC Milwaukee. Have fun, enjoy, and come say hello. I will be there competing, playing the main tournament on Saturday, and then I'll probably doing side events on Sunday, unless I'm lucky enough to make it into Top Cut, which is awesome. But yeah, if you see me, feel free to come say hi. Always happy to meet fans and just people who watch the channel, so thank you very much. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you have a fun, great tournament in Milwaukee. Feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.